Cartilaginous fish has an oil-filled liver instead of a gas-filled bladder to control their buoyancy underwater. In most cases, 25% of their body is their liver, around 96% of their oil is squalene. This unsaturated hydrocarbon was discovered by a Japanese scientist and first used throughout East Asia and has now been used worldwide, harvesting 2,200 tons of oil a year, with 1 ton of oil being extracted from 3,000 sharks, killing over 3 million deep-sea sharks each year to meet the squalene demand, equaling to half the entire population of Hong Kong. 90% of which is used to meet the insatiable cosmetic skincare demands, appearing in brands such as Dove, Vaseline and more, for sunscreens and moisturizers. And 9% of squalene is in the supplement industry, in the form of soft shell capsules. Shark liver oil's origin traces back to it being a popular and accessible Asian and Mediterranean folk remedy, used both as a therapeutic and preventive agent. In the 18th and 19th centuries, shark liver oil was used to fuel lamps before it was replaced by petroleum. This is when the market of this oil was shifted from industrial to cosmetics, a market driven by the ancient ideal and obsession of firm and youthful skin that started after distillation and discovery of squalene, present in shark liver oil in 1906. The surge of a remedy to youthfulness in skin dates back as early as the Han Dynasty in China. A woman's skin health was known to indicate social classes and significantly related to one's frequent relationship with the sun, or lack of. There was and still is a deeply rooted cultural norm over skin health and aesthetics. Wrinkled and dry skin has long been associated with labor, working in the fields, and rural poverty. On the other hand, firm, flawless skin is associated with living a more comfortable, cosmopolitan life indoors, out of the sun, serving as a representation of social prestige and lack of physical labor. Since the implementation of the open door policy in 1978, China and Hong Kong has seen tremendous growth in the cosmetics market, which is now the second largest in the globe. Within the contemporary context, the preoccupation with female beauty and indulgence in skincare rejuvenation adheres to Western and Caucasian aesthetics and is influenced by Western hegemonic beauty standards. Skincare advertisement often features half Caucasian or half Asian models to represent the image of ideal beauty. These models are chosen specifically so that the consumer can find the model's Asian heritage relatable, but also perceive the Caucasian features as a desirable goal to pursue. The preservation of youth is rooted in ancient Chinese medical practices centered around the energy flowing in our body. Our daily body energy clock starts actually with our own liver, where it detoxifies body toxins, metabolizes our body, which sets the stage for qi moving onward to the other parts of our body again for the rest of the day. The modern supplement industry taps into this ancient tradition, advertised to elongate youthfulness from within, claiming that additional squalene is needed to compensate our loss of human natural oils that ultimately leads to the inevitable of old age. Just like that, from shark's liver to our own liver, the rejuvenation was set to begin.
Sharks don't get cancer. That's the title of
Primarily a commonality in the East, the interest in squalene and shark products and their use in the West started when the show 60 Minutes aired a segment over 20 years ago, with the false knowledge of sharks do not get cancer. Great is the power of steady misrepresentation. The spread of myths and use of psychological satisfaction started to expand the shark and squalene trade worldwide. Beauty and youth are then served and promised in a jar of an over-the-counter moisturizer, or a small, clear, 3.3mg pale yellow-coloured soft gel capsule. Just like the acupoints on our body serving as a gate open to the ocean of the energy flowing through the current of our body, the gate of Hong Kong port opens up the flow of trade and practices outside of the East to put the ocean into our body. Hong Kong has accounted for over 50% of the global shark trade. The Hong Kong port is ranked as the busiest port in the world. Hong Kong is the site and the largest hub, but the emphasis is also on the key players of this network and borders in the oceans coming into and out of the port. The South China Sea serves as a primary oceanic area for shark fishery going into Hong Kong for trading, reaching almost 37 million tons of fishery production a year. Sharks were found everywhere. They are especially common off Taiyo, Changzhou Island, Lama Island, and Tonglong Island all year. International import of squalene product to Hong Kong for local demands ranges from Taiwan to Japan and Australia. Export and re-export from Hong Kong goes to other Eastern Asian countries, but also European key players such as Spain, France, the UK, and more. A total of 86 countries reported in year 2000 for shark importation and exportation from Hong Kong alone. Shark fisheries in the South China Sea are unmanaged, and the details of their operations are often not brought to light. This led to the overfishing of larger shark species for the equivalently larger livers, and therefore larger amount of squalene, pushing them to extinction according to the IUCA. In many cases, a shark caught at the sea are immediately being cut in half. Their livers spill out of his body due to its unproportionate size. After the cut and spill, the shark is still alive and thrown back into the ocean. Without its oil and usually also its fins, it is unable to swim and sinks to the bottom of the ocean as a cylindrical lump to slowly die. Livers are often stranded at sea within vessels after being caught by a long line and after livering, before entering into a port or sea transshipment. Stranded together are the livers' captors, who are captives themselves. Aside from the consequence of a mass destruction of a marine ecosystem, a long line of men is also being trafficked. Most of them being Cambodians with Thai captors, rescued from the South China Sea, reporting that they had been living their lives unwillingly at sea, with the only contact to land at unmanaged islands called the prison islands, of which there are hundreds in the South China Sea. Fishing captains exploit these numerous remote and technology-distant lands to maroon their captive crews, sometimes for weeks, while their vessels are taken to port for dry docking and repair. A scene on deck can be described as such. Located on deck are industrial-sized spinning winches and lines of fishing hooks. This floating factory then goes up and down, 2 to 4 meters, continuously, and sways side to side. The floor is slippery, with fish parts and blood, with tired men barefoot on deck and have water splashing over the sides every 2 minutes. All of these oil in motion combined, only to arrive at our domestic doorsteps as a packaged good. Despite all, the squalene market in the West continued to rise, with Hong Kong being the main gate of witness. In truth, the ideal of squalene and the industry that is linked with it is riddled by deceit. The product we use on our skin don't actually absorb as marketed. In fact, they only penetrate. The route absorption into our skin is through the dense, functionally dead cells of the outermost layer of our skin, a thick wall designed to serve as a barrier, protecting us from external toxins. It is 15 to 20 layers thick. Only very tiny molecules can absorb into skin this way. Therefore, it is not as common. Due to its unethical origins, many brands are using unknown sources of squalene and therefore do not specify the source on their labels. It therefore finds itself to exist on the market in many cunning ways. In the world of cosmetics, it often hides behind the facade of the category of fragrance, a loophole allowing fragrances to be exempt on the cosmetic ingredients label. Squalene supplements from China avoid the label of shark liver oil. Instead, they are labeled as tilapia, a type of inexpensive freshwater fish on international export documents. The identified spatial conditions fundamental to an intervention is set in the relationship between the coast of Hong Kong and South China Sea. The ambition is to create distinctive physical or biogenerated barriers over the now unmanaged fishing territories that overlaps with prison islands in the South China Sea, all to contribute to the import into Hong Kong's skincare industry. It is to emphasize on a line of oceanic infrastructural control that leads itself from the ocean to our skin.